Hi, I'm Kathy.
And I'm Vanessa, and this is Latinx Collective Conversations, where we talk about private practice mindset and building community as Latinx clinician.
So today we thought we would talk about a really important topic. Last episode, we talked about fears, we talked about skills and confidence and all of those things. Today, we want to talk about roles and identities that we had to let go of in order to become the business owners that we are today. So, what is one role that you had to let go of?
A yes person. I had to let go of saying yes to everything.
Okay. And I think I had to let go of, no, I know I had to let go of being an overgiver
Mhm.
and figuring things out by myself. Like it was almost a sense of pride, right? To say that
Abs-
I can figure things out. And I think you've talked about that too.
Absolutely. I had to just stop giving, 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 giving. And I know that that's something that doesn't come naturally, especially when we put that cultural layer on top. But sometimes you need to let that aspect go in order to grow.
Yeah, definitely. And when we talk about it in a cultural lens too, we have often talked about how a lot of these skills that we gain are for survival, right? So it feels uncomfortable to let go of some of these roles because we're saying we're letting go of the things that helped us survive when we were growing up, right? That gave us our role in our family, right? That helped our family in so many ways.
Yeah, I'm laughing because if I think about as we were growing up, and if my mom told me to do something, there was no what my son tries to do with me negotiating and maybe later, and I'm going to do it this way. It was like, si, senora. And we had to go do what you had to go do. And now I had to
Yes.
really undo some of that and learn to say, I'd love to, but I can't. I'd love to
Yeah.
help, but I just don't have the bandwidth, which still doesn't come naturally and still takes a lot of intentionality and thought to say, "Girl, you can't handle this. Say no, thank you."
Yeah. Yeah, and even to say that you can't handle it. When you said it, I was like, "Hey, hey, give me a little switch," right? Because we learn that we can do it, we got this, we can handle it. And a lot of us were on go, 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 right? And go, 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 and check off that box. You did it. Not stopping and saying, I did that, right? And celebrating it to the really its fullest potential. Because a lot of things that we do are big, wow. You figured out how to go to school, you got your master's, you figured out how to get that license, which took so many steps, another episode. But we did all those things and we just check them off and keep going because that is part of the how we're raised and that survival skills that you go, 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 you overgive, you say yes, you can figure it out, you can do it all.
Yeah. And when we follow the same thing that you were just saying is I don't want to be a burden. Let me not make it hard for other
Yeah.
people. I need to be the one to be liked. I don't want to say no because then they won't like me. I'll just figure it out.
Yeah.
I'm going to say sorry until the end of time. Like all of these things are just ways that if we really think about where did that come along in our lives, it must have been obviously from the way that we were raised and different experiences we go through, but sometimes they really don't serve us in the scope of our businesses and of our private practices.
Yeah, and it is boundaries, that word, boundaries that everyone really hates and that we talk about in therapy and your therapist will say it. And again, why it's so important to have a therapist that understands your culture. I'm just going to put that plug in there really quickly because then boundaries are different in our family, right? Boundaries feel different. They have to be communicated differently. I remember the first time I communicated a boundary to my mom. I was like, oh my God, how is this going to go? But I had to do it because at that point, it was almost like I was avoiding instead of helping. And I'm like, oh, she's gonna call and she's gonna ask me something. And I'm so busy. I'm in grad school, I'm in an internship and I'm working, and there's no way I can do this thing. And it wasn't that I didn't want to do it for her. I'm happy to do things for my mom when I can. That is the right. But as we know, anyone listening who has a Latino mom, right, is like, I need this done right now, right? And you don't even know what it is, right? But you already feel their anxiety because you're like, they need it done right now. And it could be that it's due in a month from now, but they don't know that, right? Because they didn't totally understand it or whatever it is. And what I had to start doing was telling her, I want to do that for you, but I can't do it right now. So this is when I'm available. And that really changed my conversations with her. It took time. It took time because she did not understand it at first. She was like, I know, like, I need help with this. What are you talking about? And I'm like, no, I have this and this and that. I'm really communicating. And it's understood now, giving people hope. She says, Mija, when you have time, I need help with this. And I'm like, as you know, I mean, also life is very different too. Now she knows I have two kids and all of that. But even before my two kids, like we were establishing those boundaries. But I had different therapists in the past, when I started therapy, and they're like, well, you just have to say no. And I'm like, you don't have a Latina
I don't
mom.
get it.
You don't just say no, Like what are you talking about? And also slash if it doesn't get done, how else will they do it? That's a
Right.
very different reality. So I'm happy to help my mom, but it was the boundaries, right? And those boundaries had to translate into also when I started my own business.
Absolutely. Along those same lines, it's not so much of setting the boundary, although there was definitely a lot of that. And I'll take this as a compliment that they think that I can help them out with everything. So I'm glad that they have that thought of me. However, when it came time to like anything having to do with taxes or filling disability, anything having to do with numbers, always transparent, not my thing. And I'm like, my little brother is a math genius. Like, please ask him. This is not my strength. I'm able to help you with A, B, and C, but not numbers. So just redirect that attention the other way. And sometimes that's hard because no, I want help from you, but maybe I'm not the best person to help you on that topic. And that was a little bit tough to kind of make very clear. And that's knowing our strengths and then our areas for opportunity or for growth or just to point them in another direction.
Yeah. But when boundaries go into your business, right? Or having to say no, that's a completely different story, right? Because then you're going to burn yourself out. And we're already in a profession that you can get burnt out very easily. We are listening to everyone's stuff. We are taking it all in, right? And we need to be able to establish those boundaries and know what we can do or we can't do, right? And it not being like I can't do that. Right? It's okay if we can't. There are other people. Someone else may benefit from this as an opportunity for someone else. These are things that I've said to myself when I have to say no, right? The timing is not right. But what really it was, I can't be an overgiver. I can't say yes all the time. I can't do it all. And that's okay, right? Being okay with those things and letting go of those roles that, like we said, bring a sense of pride when like your parents are like, oh, well, she can do everything, and she knows how to figure this out. It's really hard to let go of those skills and those things that we've had to do in those roles and how people in our family see us. But in our business, if we're saying yes to everything, then we're saying no to other things in our life, right? And at this point, to me, it's I'm saying no to time with my kids. I'm saying no to time with my husband. I'm saying no to the fun things for myself. And that really had to change. And that was growth over time that I had to learn that.
Definitely. And that's the example of, if you're going to overcommit yourself. But if you bring it back to the simplest, when you get those consultation calls and can you take me on as a client? Sometimes the answer has to be no. If it doesn't fall within your scope of where you do your best work, then that's where a really good list of referrals comes in that I have somebody that can definitely help you out with that, but it cannot be me because that does not fall into the scope of my expertise. And we have to be okay in saying that while wanting to help the world. We cannot help all the people. There's a certain subgroup that we are or should be trained in helping, our niche area and not all the things. And sometimes we see that with the very beginners that you want to be a generalist and help everybody, but is that where you do your best work?
I was just about to say that that's where we get the most that because of that fear, going back to the last episode, sometimes we say yes to all the clients. Even though that's not a client we know that we do our best work with, that we niche down in, whatever it is, we take all the clients, even if in that consultation call, you're like, this is probably not the best fit for me, but you say yes because you don't want to say no, slash, you're like, I need the clients. So even from that very beginning, those really like, step one and two, being able to do that so that the clients that you're working with are aligned with you, with the type of practice you want to have. And so it doesn't lead to burning out. Because we know that if we are working with the clients that we do our best work with, now we're reducing that likelihood of being burnt out in what we're doing.
Absolutely. And then that extends to, can you see me at 7 and 8 o'clock at night? No, I
Right.
cannot because I have small children
Mm-mm.
that I need to put to bed and or go to a game to. So I cannot see you at 7 and 8 o'clock at night. And sometimes that comes again from that mindset of then I'm not going to get this client, or am I going to make my numbers, or am I going to have enough? And I really like to focus on having an abundance mindset of if you're not taking this client on, or if you're not working at that time, it's because you're saying yes to another type of client, or like you said before, yes to spending time with your family, because we have to have our personal priorities in place too, so that we can show up as the best clinician and as the best CEO, because as private practice owners, yes, we are both, that we can be in order to do our best work with the people that we wish to help.
Well, a lot of times what happens is that if we start saying no, we have that fear that we are going to miss out on an opportunity or that people aren't going to ask us again if we say no that time. But really, it's about timing, right? It's not the right time. It'll come back again or something will happen. I mean, I'm sure both of us have so many stories when that has happened that I said no or I said yes and I shouldn't have said yes, right? And I said no and it came back around at a different time, which was the right time for us. Because also trusting in that timing of like, it's not for me right now. And it's okay to say no. Or maybe it's the perfect time to say yes and we do it. Right. The other thing is that other identity I was talking about, like that figuring everything out. That there were so many times that I didn't want to say out loud that I didn't know how to do something or that I couldn't figure something out, which is what I love about our space, that in our space, we can do those things.
Absolutely. And there's two points to that, because sometimes we don't want to say yes because we don't know and we're afraid, going back to the last episode,
Mhm.
that fear gets us or leaves us stuck and then we don't grow. But when you have a community like the collective, we offer so many spaces that people can come and ask their questions, whether it be one on one, let's say during a coaching clarity call, if there's not a lot of folks on the call, or in our different special interest groups where it's either you're just starting out and you're trying to put all the pieces together and everyone around you is on that level, or the opposite, elevate, where you're looking into what else do I want to bring into or outside of the practice, whether it be speaking or retreats or leadership opportunities and just different avenues where you want to grow, taking insurance, not taking insurance, growing into a group practice, all of these different things that sometimes if we sit by ourselves, we either don't take the risk or we take the risk without guidance because we don't want to ask, but we really want to make it a safe space where everybody can ask all the questions and then really figure out in their heart, is this for me or is this something that is really not meant to be either ever or maybe just not right now?
So if you're listening to this episode right now, we encourage you, think about what roles you need potentially still need to shed, right? What roles are you still identifying with that are part of the old you, not the business you, not the CEO you, that you may still need to shed now? Or if you've been in it for a while and you're like, yeah, I'm still doing that thing you were talking about, Kathy or Vanessa, reflect on that and figure out why and how we can let go of those. Those are really key to making sure that you can have a sustainable business, but a happy business that has that, I don't even like to say that balance, but that you can live your personal goals and also your business goals as well.
Absolutely. Sometimes you got to let go of who you are to step into who you can be. And we are more than happy to help with that. If you ever have any questions, you can find us on Instagram and on LinkedIn at latinx.practice.collective. And you can always jump on our email list so that you are the first to know about all the events that we have coming up. Thank you so much for tuning in. Episodes come out twice a month. Make sure that you like, subscribe, all of the things, and most importantly, share with a friend. Remember that this conversation is for educational purposes only and should not be substituted for clinical, financial, or business advice. And we'll see you again soon.